opportunity, greater influence, and a life shaped deliberately rather than accidentally. This is not an exaggerated promise, it is the natural outcome of behavior repeated consistently over time. Continue clicking forward, continue acting with intention, continue honoring your decisions, and allow discipline to quietly deliver what motivation never could: stability, strength, clarity, control, and a future built by choice rather than chance. If you are feeling broken today, if your heart feels heavy in a way you cannot explain, if your mind keeps replaying memories, fears, and questions that have no easy answers, then imagine this moment as a pause in the noise of the world, a moment where you are allowed to breathe and to remember that even in your weakest state, you are not forgotten, not invisible, and not without purpose. Because the energy symbolized by Archangel Michael represents courage when your courage feels gone, protection when you feel exposed, and clarity when your thoughts feel like a storm. And this message is not about fate or fear but about strength rising quietly inside you, the kind of strength that does not shout but endures, the kind that does not dominate but steadies, and the kind that does not erase pain but teaches you how to carry it without letting it define you. And right now the most important truth you can receive is that your brokenness is not a sign of failure, it is a sign that you have cared deeply, tried sincerely, and felt life fully, and anyone who has truly lived and loved will carry cracks, but those cracks are not the end of the story, they are the places where light enters, where wisdom grows, and where compassion is born. And if you feel alone, remember that loneliness is not proof that you are unloved, it is often the echo of a heart that longs for understanding, connection, and safety, and this longing itself means your heart is still alive, still open, still capable of receiving and giving warmth, and the symbolic presence of Archangel Michael stands for the reminder that you are guarded not from experience, but through it, guided not away from struggle, but toward the strength that struggle awakens, and when fear whispers that you are not enough, that you are behind, that you are losing, or that you are forgotten, this message counters with a deeper truth: you are in a process, not a punishment, you are in a season, not a sentence, and you are in a transformation, not a collapse, and every transformation feels like breaking before it feels like becoming, and every becoming requires the courage to walk through uncertainty. And the reason you feel tired is not because you are weak, but because you have been strong for a long time, carrying responsibilities, emotions, and expectations that few truly see, and now your soul is asking for gentleness, not judgment, for patience, not pressure, and for trust, not fear. And Archangel Michael's symbolic sword is not raised to threaten, but to cut through illusion, to separate what is real from what is imagined, what is within your control from what is not, and what is truly yours to carry from what you have been carrying for others. And as this clarity grows, you begin to understand that you do not have to win every battle to be worthy, you do not have to be perfect to be protected, and you do not have to be fearless to be brave, because bravery is the decision to continue even when your voice shakes, your hands tremble, and your heart feels unsure, and the message reminds you that fear is not your enemy, it is a signal, a sign that something matters deeply to you, and when you listen to fear with wisdom instead of letting it rule you, it becomes a guide instead of a jailer. And the protection symbolized here is not about walls that isolate you from the world, but about inner strength that allows you to face the world without losing yourself. and this strength grows when you choose honesty over pretending, rest over burnout, and self-respect over self-neglect. And if you have been comparing your journey to others, feeling late, slow, or left behind, know that growth does not follow one clock, healing does not follow one timeline, and purpose does not arrive on one schedule. And what looks like delay may actually be preparation, what feels like silence may actually be alignment, and what seems like loss may be clearing space for something that fits you better. And Archangel Michael's energy symbolizes trust in this unseen process, the trust that your life is not random, your struggles are not meaningless, and your presence here is not accidental. And even now, in confusion, you are learning, in pain you are deepening, and in uncertainty you are strengthening. And the voice that feels as if it is calling you is not a voice of doom, but a call to remember who you are beneath your fear, beneath your roles, and beneath your wounds, a call to return to your core, where resilience lives, where hope quietly waits, and where your true worth has never been damaged. And this message asks you to stand, not in defiance of life, but in partnership with it, to face today not with the question, "Why is this happening to me?" but with the courage to ask, "What is this teaching me?" and "How can I grow through this without becoming bitter?" And when you shift in this way, you do not deny your pain, you transform it, you do not erase your past, you integrate it, and you do not run from your fear, you learn from it, and in doing so, you step into the deeper meaning of protection, which is not the absence of storms, but the presence of an inner anchor, and this anchor is built from self-trust, patience, and the understanding that even your darkest moments are chapters, not conclusions. And as you hold this understanding, you begin to feel less alone, because you realize that your struggle connects you to the shared human experience, to everyone who has ever doubted, hoped, fallen, and risen again. And in this connection, loneliness softens, fear loosens its grip, and brokenness starts to feel less like an end and more like the beginning of a wiser, stronger, and more compassionate version of you that is slowly, quietly, and surely being formed. And as this feeling of quiet strength begins to settle in your heart, you may start to realize that being broken does not mean you are finished, it means you have been opened, and when something opens, it becomes capable of receiving what it could not receive before, such as deeper understanding, gentler patience, and a more compassionate view of yourself and others. And this is where the symbolic energy of Archangel Michael speaks again. Not in thunder or fear, but in reassurance, reminding you that you are not defined by the worst moments of your life, not by the mistakes you regret, and not by the losses you still mourn, but by the courage you show in continuing to love, to hope, and to try, even when you feel tired, uncertain, or afraid, because true strength is not loud, it is steady, it is the strength that gets up quietly after disappointment, that keeps its heart open after being hurt, and that chooses integrity even when no one is watching. And if today you feel small, overwhelmed, or invisible, this message tells you that your worth has never been measured by your productivity, your success, or other people's approval, but by the simple truth that you are here, you are breathing, and you are still capable of growth, and every breath you take is a sign that your story is still unfolding, still being written, and still filled with possibilities that you cannot yet see. And the fear you carry does not mean you are weak, it means you care, it means you have something precious to protect, and when you learn to hold that fear with wisdom instead of letting it control you, It becomes a guide that teaches you where to be gentle with yourself and where to be brave, and the symbolic shield of Archangel Michael now represents boundaries, the healthy boundaries that protect your energy, your time, and your emotional well-being, reminding you that it is okay to say no, okay to rest, and okay to step back from what drains you, because self-respect is not selfish, it is necessary. And when you honor your own limits, you teach others how to honor them too. And as you do this, you begin to feel a new kind of peace, not the peace of everything being perfect, but the peace of knowing you can face imperfection without losing yourself, and the message continues to whisper that you do not need to have all the answers today, you only need the willingness to keep walking, one honest step at a time, trusting that clarity comes through movement, and confidence grows through experience, and healing unfolds through patience, and even the smallest acts of kindness you show yourself now, the gentle words, the moments of rest, the decision not to give up, are planting seeds for a stronger future, and these seeds may take time to grow, but they are alive, and they are working beneath the surface, just as roots grow before the tree becomes visible, and the voice of encouragement in this message is a reminder that you are allowed to take your time, you are allowed to be a work in progress, and you are allowed to believe that something good can still emerge from what feels broken, because broken things can be repaired, but also transformed, becoming something different, sometimes even more beautiful and meaningful than before, and when you hold this understanding, your loneliness begins to soften, your fear begins to loosen, and your heart begins to trust again, not blindly, but wisely, knowing that life will always bring challenges, but it will also always bring the strength to meet them, and in this balance between vulnerability and courage, you find the true message of protection, the assurance that you are not walking alone in your struggles, even when you feel alone, and that within you there is a steady light that has not gone out, a light of resilience, awareness, and hope, quietly guiding you forward, step by step, toward a version of yourself that is not defined by what hurt you, but by what you learned, how you grew, and how you chose to keep going. And as this inner light begins to feel a little steadier, you may notice that what once felt like weakness is slowly revealing itself as sensitivity, and what once felt like fear is slowly revealing itself as awareness, because a heart that has been through pain learns to notice things others overlook, learns to value peace more deeply, and learns to recognize what truly matters, and this is why your experiences, even the difficult ones, are not wasted, they are shaping your wisdom, your empathy, and your ability to stand for what is right, and the symbolic presence of Archangel Michael here represents the courage to trust this process, to believe that your struggles are not random, but refining, not meaningless, but meaningful in ways that will become clear with time, and when you feel unsure of your direction, the message encourages you to focus not on the entire path, but on the next honest step, because clarity is rarely given all at once, it is revealed gradually as you move, as you learn, and as you grow, and the fear that tells you, you are not ready, is often the same fear that appears when you are about to step into something that will stretch you, strengthen you, and help you discover parts of yourself you did not know existed, and the symbolic sword of Archangel Michael now stands for discernment, the ability to tell the difference between what truly belongs in your life and what no longer serves your growth, between what supports your peace and what slowly drains it, and this discernment helps you drains it, and this discernment helps you release guilt, old expectations, and roles you have outgrown, allowing you to make space for new understanding, healthier connections, and a more authentic way of living. And the message reminds you that you do not need to prove your worth through constant struggle, self-sacrifice, or perfection, because your value is not earned, it is inherent. And when you begin to treat yourself with the same patience and kindness you offer others, your inner world becomes a place of safety instead of criticism, and from that safety, confidence grows naturally, not as arrogance, but as quiet self-trust, and this self-trust allows you to face uncertainty without panic, to make decisions without constant doubt, and to accept that not every outcome is under your control, yet your response always is, and in this understanding, you find a deeper form of peace. The peace that comes from knowing you are doing your best with what you know, and that growth is a journey, not a race, and as you continue forward, carrying both your hopes and your fears, the message gently reminds you that you are allowed to change, to outgrow old versions of yourself, and to choose a path that aligns more closely with your true values, even if others do not fully understand, because authenticity is a form of courage, and living in alignment with your inner truth is a form of protection, and in this alignment, you begin to feel less broken and more whole, not because everything is perfect, but because you are learning to accept yourself as you are while still believing in who you are becoming, and this balance between acceptance and growth is the quiet strength that carries you through uncertainty, reminding you that you are not lost, you are learning, not failing, you are evolving, and not alone, you are supported by your own resilience, your own awareness, and your own capacity to rise again and again, with greater understanding and steadier hope. And as this understanding settles more deeply within you, you may begin to feel a quiet shift, a soft strengthening, as if something inside you that once felt fragile is learning how to stand again, not with hardness, but with steadiness, because true stability is not the absence of emotion, it is the ability to feel deeply without being destroyed by what you feel. And this is the kind of strength the symbolic presence of Archangel Michael represents, a calm, grounded courage that does not rush, does not panic, and does not give up on itself, even when the path ahead is unclear. And this message reminds you that you do not have to become someone else to be worthy of peace, you only have to become more honest with who you already are, to accept your fears without letting them define you, to acknowledge your wounds without letting them harden you, and to recognize your limits without turning them into excuses. And when you do this, you begin to build an inner foundation that is not shaken easily by other people's opinions, by temporary setbacks, or by moments of self-doubt, because your sense of worth starts to come from within, from the knowledge that you are learning, growing, and trying, and that this effort itself has value, and the message encourages you to be patient with your own process, because healing and growth are not straight lines, they move in waves, with moments of progress and moments of rest, moments of clarity and moments of confusion, and all of these are part of becoming wiser and stronger, not signs that you are failing. And the symbolic shield of Archangel Michael now stands for emotional boundaries, the understanding that you can care without carrying everything, that you can be kind without abandoning yourself, and that you can support others without losing your own balance, and this balance is what protects your energy, your peace, and your ability to remain open without becoming overwhelmed. And as you learn this, you start to choose your responses more consciously, speaking with intention instead of reacting from hurt, listening with presence instead of defending, and acting with thoughtfulness instead of impulse, and these small, steady choices slowly transform the way you experience life. Bringing more calm into situations that once felt chaotic, and more clarity into decisions that once felt confusing, and the message continues to remind you that your past does not have the authority to decide your future. It can teach you, shape you, and inform you, but it does not get to limit you, and every day you are given the chance to respond differently, to think differently, and to believe differently about yourself. And this is where real change begins, not in dramatic moments, but in quiet shifts of perspective, in choosing self-respect over self-criticism, hope over despair, and patience over fear, and as these choices accumulate, you begin to feel less broken and more integrated, not because the past disappears, but because it finds its place, and you are no longer fighting it, but learning from it, and in this learning, a deeper confidence grows, the confidence that you can face what comes, not because you know everything, but because you trust your ability to adapt, to learn, and to keep moving forward with courage and awareness. And as this inner confidence slowly takes root, you may begin to notice that the fear which once felt overwhelming is no longer controlling every thought, because understanding brings light, and light naturally reduces the power of what once lived in the shadows, and this is where the message becomes one of deep reassurance, reminding you that you are not meant to live in constant tension, always preparing for what might go wrong, always bracing yourself for disappointment, because your nervous system, your heart, and your spirit all need moments of trust and rest in order to heal and to grow, and the symbolic presence of Archangel Michael here represents the calm authority of inner stability, the kind that does not come from forcing certainty, but from accepting uncertainty with grace, and this acceptance does not mean giving up, it means understanding that life is dynamic, that change is natural, and that your strength lies not in resisting every wave, but in learning how to move with them without losing your balance, and the message encourages you to develop a relationship with your own inner voice, the quiet wisdom that knows when you need to slow down, when you need to speak up, and when you need to let go, because this inner guidance becomes clearer when you stop judging yourself harshly and start listening with compassion, and as you do this, you may find that your self-talk begins to soften, that the critical voice loses its dominance, and that a more supportive, encouraging tone takes its place, reminding you that mistakes are part of learning, that vulnerability is part of growth, and that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness, and the symbolic sword of Archangel Michael now stands for truth, the truth that you do not need to carry everything alone, that you do not need to be invulnerable to be worthy, and that you do not need to hide your struggles to deserve respect, and when you allow yourself to be honest about what you feel, you create space for genuine connection, both with yourself and with others, and this connection reduces the sense of isolation that often accompanies fear and sadness, because being seen and understood is one of the deepest forms of healing, and the message continues to remind you that your journey is not a competition, that comparing your progress to others only distracts you from honoring your own growth, your own pace, and your own unique path, and when you release the pressure to measure yourself against external standards, you begin to move with greater freedom, making choices that align more closely with your values instead of your anxieties, and this alignment brings a quiet satisfaction, a sense that even if everything is not perfect, you are living in a way that feels more authentic and grounded, and as you practice this, your resilience strengthens, not as a rigid armor, but as a flexible steadiness, allowing you to bend without breaking, to feel without collapsing, and to face challenges with a mindset that says, I may not control everything, but I can choose how I respond, and in this choice lies a powerful form of protection, the protection of self-trust, self-respect, and emotional balance. And the message gently affirms that you are learning, that you are evolving, and that every step you take toward understanding yourself more deeply is a step toward a life that feels less driven by fear and more guided by clarity, compassion, and quiet courage. And as this calm courage continues to grow inside you, you may start to realize that the past no longer has the same grip on your present, not because it has disappeared, but because you are learning how to carry it with wisdom instead of letting it weigh you down, and this is one of the deepest forms of healing, when memories no longer control your reactions, when old wounds no longer decide your worth, and when fear no longer speaks louder than your inner truth, and the symbolic presence of Archangel Michael here represents the strength to stand in this truth, to recognize that you are not the sum of your worst moments, but the sum of how you have learned from them, grown through them, and continued despite them, and this understanding brings a new level of freedom, the freedom to respond instead of react, to choose instead of repeat, and to trust instead of constantly doubt yourself. And the message reminds you that growth is often quiet, unnoticed at first, like the slow strengthening of a tree's roots before it stands firm against storms, and in the same way, your inner foundation is becoming stronger through patience, self-awareness, and the willingness to face your feelings honestly, and this foundation allows you to remain steady even when circumstances shift, even when people misunderstand you, and even when outcomes are uncertain, because your sense of stability is no longer faithfulness, the faithfulness to show up, to listen, to speak honestly, and to act with compassion, and in this faithfulness, the deepest form of loss is prevented, not by changing fate, but by honoring the present, and not by fighting time, but by using it wisely, because what truly keeps something alive is not hope alone, but attention, not intention alone, but action, and not emotion alone, but the steady choice to care before it is too late to make a difference. You walk forward knowing that you were created with intention, that you are capable of achieving more than you can currently see, and that the universe is preparing beautiful things that will align perfectly with your growth. You are meant to rise, meant to shine, meant to impact the world simply by being yourself. Continue your journey with hope in your heart and confidence in your spirit, because the best chapters of your life are not behind you, they are waiting ahead, and I am with you in every step you take. Stop making excuses and start making moves is the moment your life begins to change. You do not need permission, you do not need approval, and you do not need perfect conditions. You only need the courage to start and the strength to continue even when it gets hard, because it will get hard, and that is exactly why most people will never reach their potential, but you will, because you are no longer waiting, you are awakening. And when a person awakens to their power, nothing can stop them. Not fear, not failure, not even their own past. Remember that even stars cannot shine without darkness, and one day you will look back